Good, happy Saturday morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, as well as Joe Bear in the house. And as always, I want to thank you all for watching, commenting, subscribing, and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, this literally does not work. So let's get open for business this morning and let's wake up those football gods. Wake up here, guys. Wake up. How you doing? It is Saturday. Tomorrow we have a full slate of football games. We've got, of course, our Cowboys battling out with the Cincinnati Bengals in a game that truly means a lot because we're talking about draft position. And we literally sit here 139 days, 10 hours, 49 minutes, and 30 seconds away from kickoff of the 2021 draft, and in hopes of the Dallas Cowboys getting the right personnel that they need to make that run. So, as we do sit here, waiting for one said draft. Jerry Jones, a man who is never short of having words and things to say and never wanting to not be in charge, was commenting yesterday on him being the GM. He said basically, I've always been self-employed, and you don't fire that guy, you just change. And he said, I can change, I will change. But at 78 years of age, I'm not sure that that's really going to happen. Now, it seems like yesterday, or it seems like this week, since the NFL came down and said, you know what, we don't care about watching the Cowboys and Sunday Night Football anymore. We're going to move you to a 1 o'clock game and literally move the Giants versus the Cleveland Browns. That literally had to hurt to the gut of Jerry Jones. And you notice that things seem to have changed more vocally, at least out to the public, about everything that's going on with the Cowboys and things and trying to figure out what went wrong. Well, Jerry Jones went on yesterday to talk about the decision to change defenses during the pandemic. See, I look at our offense and say our offense didn't lose much. You see how we had three receivers that were headed to be well over 1,000 yards apiece. And shout out to Amari Cooper, who is still on pace for almost 1,200 yards and 101 receptions, even with four different quarterbacks throwing to him. He's actually having a great season. He's one of the few people that you can look at and say, yeah, that guy is doing it well. In fact, last night it was really nice because I had Skywalker Steele on here, and he's one of those young guns and guys, and check out his channel and things because he definitely does great film breakdown and has great knowledge in things that are going on. And we got into a heated discussion last night about the problems and the woes with the team, because I kind of looked at it and said, yeah, Jerry Jones does put a lot of influence on the team, but in the end, can you blame him for effort that's on the field? He's not really calling the plays, and Skywalker actually had a good response to that. That when Jerry Jones flies in with this helicopter to practice and things like that and undermines the coaches and in the way of trying to remember how we put it. It's kind of like with kids. Your kids know what they can get away with. If you say, oh, Johnny, stop doing that, you're going to be in trouble, and they never get in trouble, they know what they can do to push your buttons and how far they can go. They will continue to do the same thing over and over. So when there is no accountability for the players that, they're Jerry Jones's, de facto kids and things and all that, that you can't have the the coach go through and discipline these guys and put them on notice because they'll just go to, hey, he's yelling at me. We've seen Jalen Smith playing terrible, seeming lost out there, and you have Jerry Jones saying, well, he's one of the cornerstones of our foundation. Monetarily wise, yeah, you have to have him as it because you're paying a whole bunch of money. But I don't look at him as the leader on the team and a guy that is playing really, really well right now. And the same can be said about Zeke Elliott. Now, Zeke, I still believe Zeke may have had some lasting effects from COVID. You notice how the first part of the season, he didn't seem to have much of a burst. He ended up, having the fumble issues. We don't know all the effects of having COVID, and we know he had it over the summer, along with the shortened season, also losing Dak Prescott. There's a multitude of reasons. But, Jerry Jones goes along and says, well, that's our best player. Well, you forgot about Zach Martin. But Jerry Jones, in a way, has undermined those things. But he admits the biggest thing that they did that they didn't think about and should have was, as we look at the offense, which had Dak Prescott working the guys in his practice field in the backyard without changing a lot of things, they were able to get a lot of work in and get used to playing with each other, because one of the keys with football is actually having consistency and playing next to the same guy, knowing what they're going to do, knowing what their assignment is, knowing what the game plan is. Well, the Cowboys brought in a new defensive coordinator, Mike Nolan, and they decided to change the defense, which is a hard thing to do in a regular year. The problem with this year is you change the defense by computer. It's not the same thing as actually going out there and putting in the work in the practices. And so now you've got a off season that consisted of no preseason games. You've got an off season that has 2 weeks of conditioning and then 14 padded practices. And now we've got a football season, and we have a totally different scheme. We try to do it as a hybrid. We're trying to rotate through it. We've got guys like D-Law who are now standing up as opposed to having his hand in the dirt. So Jerry Jones is now admitting that maybe that wasn't the right idea. And the problem now is I think that the waters are muddied. And from the beginning, players doubted the system. You kept hearing about it's too complex. We feel lost. We had a couple of guys talking to Jane Slater saying that the coaches don't know how to teach and so on. And I'm not sure that you can recover the defense from where they are historically bad. When I say bad, here's how bad the Dallas Cowboys have been. And I don't care what quarterback you put on the Dallas Cowboys right now, you're not going to have a different effect when you have a team that is giving up 32.6 points a game. If you take all of the teams in the Dallas Cowboys history from their first year to the 1-15 year to 2010, 11, and 12 when it was awful, you take all of those teams right there. Currently, this defense has given up the 6th most points in the history of the Dallas Cowboys. And if they give up 37 more points, we got 4 games, so that would mean they would have to hold teams to under 10 points a game. I don't see that happening. This defense will give up more points than any other Dallas Cowboys defense ever. Ever. And unfortunately, I think at this point, you're hearing the calls of Mike Nolan being fired. And it may be that you have to do something to grab attention of the players as well as the rest of the coaching staff. The big knock on Mike McCarthy is nepotism. He got hired and he hired his buddies. Hey, man, I got a job. Hey, come on, man. I'll get you a job. I got you a job with the Cowboys. As opposed to finding people that were the best coaches and teachers out there for him. He got a lot of his friends, guys he worked with, guys he felt comfortable with, and it just hasn't worked thus far. Now, I know once you have a full off season, you'll be able to get everybody together, hopefully on the same page and things, but it just seems like I've seen a lack of effort, execution, everything, where guys just look like they'd rather be anywhere but there on the field. And I think that you're going to have to make a change for the sake of change on that one. I like Mike Nolan. I heard great things from my man Demario Davis about him as the linebacker coach. I look at how working with the linebackers in New Orleans, how they were able to play downhill. I was looking to see that same kind of effect with Jalen Smith. But when you look at Demario Davis, And then you say Jalen Smith. I'm sorry. They're both NFL Man of the Year nominees. But that's about all they have in common right now, because I look at Demario Davis, a guy who plays downhill, a guy who reacts right now, gets to the ball carrier, and he delivers a blow, and they go backwards. I see Jalen Smith constantly hesitating and lackadaisical in his tackling. His routes of pursuit are awful. And that's fundamentals. That's not scheme. That is literally fundamentals. And if you cannot teach them to at least know how to pursue somebody, then I don't know what you can teach them in a whole nother defense. And so this may be the beginning of the end of Mike Nolan's stay in Dallas. And I think that they're going to need to make some more changes. I don't think they'll make a change on Mike McCarthy. I think they'll give him at least another year or two to see where it goes. But some changes definitely need to be made on the Dallas Cowboys team. So tomorrow we'll be live streaming from 1 o'clock on. We'll be covering the Cowboys, the Giants, the Eagles, and Washington. So I think we got 2 at 1 and 2 at 4. So it's going to be a long day. So I might try and get me a little extra sleep in here to make sure I'm wide awake. I'm Mark Holmes, and as always, I want to thank you guys for being here and being part of the Joe Boo Sports Report. I'll see you soon.